I'm going to give just a brief introduction on these development dialogues.
Yes.
When they started, how important they are, and I'll just narrow down briefly to the topic today. And without saying much, I'm going to introduce you to give the opening remarks. And from there, I'm going to give the context for today's conversation. Following that context, we are going to go directly to the introductions. I'm going to give a brief introduction of the four panelists. So at that point, they will not be able to maybe give some remarks. So just give a brief introduction and then proceed to the panel discussion. And in the panel discussion, you'll be the first panelist. So by a panel discussions. And finally, we are going to have an interactive question and answer synthesis. So just to give some basic rules for this dialogue is that we are expecting that unless you are speaking, we keep your audio muted so that we have as minimal disruption as possible. So kindly put your microphone off so that we can proceed on together. Thank you. Again, I would like to say that in our chat box, you can post your questions there, your remarks as we proceed, so that this will form part of our interactive question and answer thereafter. So as soon as we begin, whatever remarks that comes up, whatever question that you may be having, please just post them there. And also maybe go a step further and specify to whom you would like those questions or to whoever panelists would like your question addressed to. So for almost 2 years now, TARDA has been convening development dialogues that have provided a structured platform for policymakers, practitioners, and even communities to engage in critical development matters that are of national and regional importance. So today's session focuses on one of Kenya's most consequential and yet publicly examined dimensions of water governance, and that is the safety and the institutional management of large dams. In this webinar, we are going to assess the position and the readiness in dam safety management, and we are going to borrow insights from professionals and who have been working tirelessly in this issue at the local level, regional, and international level. And we are going to explore how best we can adopt some of these insights and some of these lessons to improve on the dam safety governance and emergency preparedness. So with those few remarks, I want to take this to invite our Managing Director, Mr. Liban Robert Duba, for the opening remarks. Kindly, Mr. Liban, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Engineer Washira, our moderator for the day. I thank you. And for today's development dialogue, which is what we have done for a while, and today being session number 8 on dam safety and national infrastructure resilience, strengthening governance for Kenya's strategic water assets. It's my pleasure to invite the policymakers present, the practitioners, researchers, regulators, and the community voices, as well as my fellow panelists, Dr. Ali Aman from the Nile Center for Dam Safety and Nile Basin Initiative, Engineer Gaita, who's an esteemed board member of our authority, myself, as well as Tony Bennett from ICOLD. Together, all the people who have joined us online, I take this opportunity to welcome you, and hopefully we will have a fruitful engagement today in this session. Thank you very much and welcome all. Karibu sana. Back to you, Engineer.
Thank you very much, MD. for those remarks. And I'll move on to the context-setting presentation. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our panel discussions, it is important to appreciate why the safety, dam safety is such a critical and national issue. Dams are not just engineering structures. They go a step further. Dams are strategic assets that support our water supply. They support flood management, energy generation. They spur economic growth, actually, and also support livelihoods for millions of Kenyans. And as our country continues to invest in critical infrastructure and water storage and harvesting, it is important for us to really have a serious talk about the safety and the reliability of these assets. So history has shown us that devastating consequences of dam failures happen whenever these aspects are not put on the table and discussed in detail and even considered in our planning and design activities. For example, in 1989, there was the Johnstown flood that occurred in the United States. And in this particular floods, more than 2,000 lives were lost. And when we come close home, we experienced the 2018 Solai Dam tragedy that also claimed about 48 lives and devastated livelihoods for so many people. So this is a critical issue, not just even a national issue, but an issue at the world-class level. So,
sorry for interruption. Tony is facing a challenge for several minutes to join the link.
Tony, I hope you can get the assistance to be able to join us. It's my hope that you'll be able to join us in time so that we can proceed on together. And thank you for that insight. So I will continue. So these events and these tragedies remind us that our objective as dam operators, practitioners, and policymakers in this field, that the ultimate goal is to protect the people, communities, and safeguard their livelihoods. So this discussion, in my view, is very timely, as even as Kenya recently observed the National Dam Safety Awareness Day that was marked in, I think, in May 2026, and which they stressed on the importance of vigilance and preparedness, even as we look at how best we can safeguard our critical infrastructure, and especially now dams. So at the same time, we face new challenges. Many dams are aging, and while climate change also is increasing the frequency and intensity of floods and droughts. So therefore, as a result, dam safety today is not only an engineering issue. It's now an issue that cuts across the board, and it is also a government issue, a governance issue, a public safety issue, a resilience issue, which calls for strong institutions, calls for effective oversight, and adequate investment and coordinated action. So while Kenya has made significant progress in strengthening its water sector, the regulatory frameworks and remains an opportunity to further enhance compliance, institutional capacity, and coordination. So today's dialogue therefore provides an important platform to reflect on our progress from our expertise and our experiences, and identify practical actions that will strengthen the safety and the resilience of Kenya's dam infrastructure now and for generations to come. So with that context in mind, I will now proceed to introduce my panelists. for today's dialogue. So allow me to put up the profiles of our panelists so that we can all appreciate the experience they bring to this discussion.
It's better to wait 1 minute for Tony, please. It is one of our main panelists. Please wait 1 minute.
Okay. So we have been requested.
That's in order, Dr. Ali.
Okay.
As you prepare, we give it a minute, and as you set up, we wait for Tony Bennett. Perhaps as you set up, we await the joining of Tony. It's good also, Washira, for us to appreciate that we have expertise from across the US, Canada, Ethiopia, and different time zones. So that speaks to the importance of this conversation and appreciation of the experts taking their time, despite the varying time zones, to join us.
Thank you, MD. Yes, in fact, today's panelist, as we wait for Mr. Tony to join us, the panel is quite diverse, and we are blessed to have representatives from within who will cater for the institutional perspective, the national perspective, and we're also going to go further and look at the regional perspective. We're also going to look at the international perspective, and I think that is the perspective that mainly Mr. Tony Bennett will bring in. And so therefore, this will be a very comprehensive discussion, cutting across the entire dam safety landscape, right from the institutional level to the international level. And we're looking forward to getting some of the best insights, because these are professionals who have been in this business for quite some time, and they have really done some amazing things. And for us, it's just to provoke them to a discussion that we can be able now to tap from their expertise. So I don't know whether Tony has been able to join us. So that we can proceed. I think I can start with the introduction of the panelists who are already with us. And then maybe we'll go back and as soon as Tony is able to join us, so that can also introduce him. If that is okay, Dr. Ali?
Still is working.
Okay?
I shared the new link with him and he's working on it. Hopefully he will join us within a minute.
Okay.
You can go ahead, Doctor. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so let's just proceed. So I'll share some so just a minute, I project something for you. We can kindly mute our audios. Let's put our microphones off, kindly. All right, so I think the profiles are up, and so let's go straight to Dr. Ali Aman. We'll get back to Tony once he is able to join us. So, Dr. Ali Aman is a Dam Safety Regional Coordinator at Eastern Nile Regional Office, that is ENTRO. He's a seasoned dam safety and geotechnical engineering specialist with experience. Sorry. Seem to be on internet.
So is another long list of that, but
Aliandikia Julie, please sort this out. Sidhani.
Sorry for that. Seem to be having a technical difficulty, but we are back on. So I was introducing Dr. Ali Aman. So Dr. Ali Aman is a regional dam safety coordinator at the Eastern Nile Technical Regional Office, ENTRO, where he leads regional initiatives aimed at strengthening dam safety across the Eastern Nile Basin. He is a highly accomplished dam safety and geotechnical engineering specialist. And he has extensive experience in planning, assessment, monitoring, management of major water infrastructure systems, and many things. As ENTRO's dam safety and geotechnical expert, he spearheads efforts to harmonize dam safety practices, structural monitoring systems, and technical standards among the Eastern Nile countries, such as Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, and some other countries. So he also plays a leading role in the development of regional dam safety guidelines, regulatory frameworks, cooperative mechanism for the management of large dams within the Nile Basin. His areas of expertise include dam safety management, geotechnical engineering, seismic safety of dams, risk assessment, emergency preparedness, reservoir safety, hydropower infrastructure, just to name a few. So through his work, he has contributed significantly to strengthening dam safety governance and enhancing institutional capacity, fostering technical cooperation among members countries within the Nile Basin Initiative. So Dr. Aman is actively engaged in regional and international dam safety forums, where he promotes the adoption of global best practices. And the advantages of this is that he has gained a vast experience in regional coordination and management of these dam safety and emergency preparedness. And so therefore, we are very lucky to have Dr. Ali joining us today. And I just want to say a word of welcome. You have an opportunity to talk as we start our panel discussions. Our next panelist is Engineer Robinson Gaita, a board member of TARDA and highly respected water storage infrastructure. A highly respected professional in Kenya's water sector with decades of experience in water resources development, water storage infrastructure, and public service. So many of us will know Engineer Gaita from his tenure as Director of Water Storage and Land Reclamation at the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, where he played a significant role in advancing Kenya's water conservation, dam development, and rainwater harvesting agenda. So he also brings valuable insight into the evolution of Kenya's water sector reforms, institutional governments, and management of strategic water infrastructure. So again, I want to say welcome, Engineer Gaita, and we look forward to hearing from you. Our next panelist is Mr. Liban Droba, the Managing Director and CEO of TARDA. Mr. Roba is a seasoned public sector leader with extensive experience in government, administration, regional development, and national resource management. As the head of TARDA, he provides strategic leadership in development and management of critical water river basin infrastructure, while championing sustainable development initiatives across the Tana River basins. He has been at the forefront of efforts to strengthen infrastructure governance, improve institutional coordination, and advance modernization of water resources and dam management systems in Kenya. My final panelist is Mr. Tony Bennett. I don't know whether he has been able to join us. I'll just still introduce him briefly, and then we can go into the next session of the panel discussion. So Tony Bennett, our final panelist, is a senior dam safety specialist and advisor with over 30 years of international experience in dam engineering, dam safety management, risk assessment, emergency preparedness, and public safety around dams. He is currently serving as the Senior Dam Safety Specialist Advisor at KGS Group and the Chair of ICOD, Committee on Public Safety, Emergency Management, providing global leadership on governance, risk assessment, and emergency preparedness. He previously served as Director of Dam and Public Safety at Ontario Power Generation, OPG, where he was responsible for the safety oversight and of more than 200 dams, associated infrastructure. So he also has served as president of the Canadian Dam Association and held senior leadership roles within the International Commission on Large Dams, contributing global dam safety standards and guidelines. So his work has been recognized through international honors, including the ICOD Honorary Membership in 2020, Fellowship of Engineering Institute of Canada in 2018, the Peter Halliday Award of Service in 2017, and the E.G. Anderson Award of Merit in 2012. So during my research, I came across Tony Bennett's professional philosophy. I think you'll be able to confirm this. once he's able to join us, whether this is true and accurate. And it states that effective dam safety is achieved through strong governance, risk-informed decision-making, emergency preparedness, and continuous monitoring. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are my 4 panelists. And without further ado, I would like to proceed to the panel discussions. And we will begin the panel discussion with the institutional accountability and governance of dam safety. And in this particular panel, I'm going to be requesting Mr. Liban to come in and talk to us more about, dam safety ultimately begins with clear institutional accountability. From the perspectives of policy, regulation, ownership, and operations, how well defined are the roles and responsibility of the various agencies and in managing Kenya's strategic water infrastructure? Where do you see the biggest gaps, or perhaps in the governance, interagency coordination, and accountability? What reforms or mechanisms are needed to strengthen an effective dam safety governance framework? So I will invite Mr. Liban to just give us an overview of the institutional accountability and also set the pace for this discussion. So over to you, Mr. Liban.
Thank you very much, Engineer Wachira. The conversation around dam safety, and I believe today's engagement in this dialogue will form a cornerstone in shaping the policy conversation around dam safety in the country. Dam safety, big and maintenance phase, construction phase, all these phases of dam development, dam design, dam construction, and ultimately dam operation and maintenance have elements of dam safety. And as you indicated earlier, that this conversation will look at the country dynamics, the country ecosystem in terms of dam safety and the global best practice, the gaps that are there and how or what would be the recommendations to fill these gaps. The regulations within this country in terms of water sector regulations under the Water Resource Authority vest the responsibility of dam ownership under the dam owner. So dam owner has different varied definitions. Dam operator, person charged with the responsibility of operating the dam. To give you a live example, is the dams in Masenga and Kiambere are owned, built, designed, and owned by TARDA. But the operation of these dams is run by the Kenya Electricity Generating Company. So in the absence of clear governance structures, in the transfer of these responsibilities in terms of operations of the dam or the dam safety element during operational phase, in the absence of clear protocols and clear documents that establish this relationship, then there's a risk in terms of a gap appearing in dam safety. The conversation you have asked me to start is aptly titled Accountability, Ownership, and Interagency Coordination. We must recognize at all points in time, dam safety is not a one institutional issue. Dam safety has the design element, has mitigation element, has emergency element, has human behavior element. And lastly, we have learned in the recent times and developments have attested to this, we have climate change elements affecting dam safety. So there requires a robust framework that must be developed within this country and the region, because we have huge dams in these jurisdictions of countries. So there needs to be an establishment of strong interagency coordination on the conversation of dam safety. With that, I believe sets the tone then for me to invite Engineer Balkesa to pick up this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana MD. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Balkisa Hassan, a civil engineer by profession and resource development officer at Tana and Data Development Authority. So for my presentation, I will be echoing what Bwana MD has mentioned. So my presentation will trace the full arc of dam development from its origin to how the dam construction evolved over time, alongside risks and failures that came afterwards, which were now followed by lessons that resulted to the formation of dam safety frameworks. So from that, we'll be able to pick what is happening within Kenya and to see the efforts that are there, the gaps, as well as the challenges and recommendations. Onto the origin of dams. Ideally, dams are structures that are built across water paths to hold or control water, such that a reservoir is created at the back. This reservoir can then be used to generate power. It can be used for irrigation purposes, for potable water supply, as well as flood management in general. In terms of construction, we can go back to 3000 BC. The first dam that is known to man by this generation is referred to as the Jawa Dam. So it was located in Jordan around 3000 BC. It existed then. So it was made of rocks, mud. You can imagine that picture. So this was the dam. These were the dams that were being done initially by man. Then came the Roman Empire. During the Roman Empire, now there was the introduction of hydraulic motor and curved arc designs. Then lastly, we have the modern century where we have the 19th century and the 20th century where reinforced concrete was introduced. For this now we see the likes of Aswan High Dam in Egypt, the Hoover Dam in the US, and the very interesting the Three Gorges Dam in China. It's quite magnificent, such that it's the world's largest power station with an installed capacity of 22,500 megawatts. Mind you, in Kenya, we have around 500 megawatts. Now, this the evolution of the dams in terms of how they grew, in terms of how construction changed, they were able to do bigger dams. The numbers definitely increased. So when we get to the numbers, we see that currently globally, according to the ICOL register, ICOL is basically the International Commission on Large Dams. So currently we have around over 58,700 large dams globally. Then when we come to Africa, we have around 1,270 dams. Then when we come to Kenya specifically, we have around 75 registered large dams. And out of these, just to mention for context, besides these 75 large dams that we have in Kenya, following the Solai Dam failure that was mentioned by my colleague, Engineer Washira, it was noted that from a satellite image, there are over 4,000 dams and water fans. This is just for context to see the magnificence, or rather the numbers that we have in terms of dams, that makes us have this conversation about dam safety. Now, when we come to the importance of dams, I had earlier mentioned that dams are used for several purposes. The reservoir created behind is used for, we mentioned irrigation, flood management, and the likes. So just to mention, in terms of the Kenyan context, we have several dams. Some we know, we've heard of them. So in terms of the Seven Forks Cascade, we have Masinga, Kamburu, Gitaru, Kindaru, and Kiambere. For this, we have a total installed capacity of 550 megawatts, and 70% of Kenya's electricity comes from these dams. This is how important these dams are. Also, we have Sasumua and Dakaini dams. These two dams get to supply about 80% of Nairobi's water supply. Then we have the Mwea irrigation scheme that is fed by the Great Tiba Dam. Lastly, we have, not lastly, but we have Mwache Dam also, which is within the coast area. It's supposed to reinforce the Mombasa water supply. Lastly, we have the general, or rather the umbrella function, which is flood mitigation, which is very important currently, especially with the news on the Super El Nino that is about to come this year from the meteorological predictions. So this is very key for us to consider, that dams are actually lifelines. In as much as failures are there, dams are quite critical for us and for development in general. Now, I want us to imagine this nexus. So we've mentioned about the super El Nino that is yet to hit Kenya from what we've been informed by Kenya Met. Then the nexus between water scarcity and food sufficiency. This is quite important to mention, especially due to the prediction that by 2030, Kenya will be water scarce. And just to highlight this, currently we are still water scarce based on international standards. So according to the UN scarcity threshold, the minimum for a country to have per capita is 1,000 cubic meters per year per capita. But currently we have a capacity of 527 cubic meters per year. And it is projected that there will be a 31% decrease of this by 2030, which is 475 cubic meters per year. And remember, now I'm getting into the nexus now. So we've had the water scarcity concern. And now when we come to agriculture, 70% of agriculture relies on irrigation. And yet we are being informed that there will be a 31% deficit by 2030. If we have this deficit at the current time, what will happen by 2030? This definitely translates to having food insufficiency and a case where there will be hunger and drought generally. So this is to just show the importance of dams and the nexus between water with regards to dams and every other aspect of the economy and growth and generally humanity. Next, I want to look at, we've mentioned how important dams are, their origin. Now, I want to delve into some of the risks, some of the failures that have happened in history, alongside the lessons that necessitated the arising of dam safety management. When we look at history, my colleague has been able to mention the Solai Dam, but I just want to echo something that happened recently, the most recent one in 2023, the Wadidana dams. So this was a scenario where we had two dams. You see how you have Masinga, Kiambere in a cascade factor. So for these two dams, the Wadidana dam really had two dams. So for this dam, the first dam broke bank, and then the second dam was in the path of the first dam. So definitely when the water came, it carried away the second dam. So this was so fatal that we had a whole city getting destroyed alongside 11,000 lives were lost. This is how dam failure can be catastrophic. And hence the need for us to gain lessons from these failures for us to come up with better ways to manage them and their safety for the general public safety. Some of the reasons, or rather the things that cause, or rather the main causes when it comes to dam failures, we have one of them being overtopping, and this overtopping can be as a result of insufficient design or poor maintenance or having climate change, the climate change variability aspect, since maybe at the time the dams were designed, they had not anticipated climate change, which has caused an increase in the amount of rainfall, which now puts pressure on the dams, and you find that they overtop. This definitely, at most times, can cause dam failure. Then we have the concern on piping, we have seepage. I know my colleagues who are better at that, they are more experienced, will maybe delve into them. Then we have the issue of not having a comprehensive dam safety management framework. So you find that once dams are constructed and handed over and operations begin, there's no follow-up in terms of maintenance and management. There is maybe, but slightly, not as much as it should be done. And you find that this over time becomes catastrophic and becomes a risk at the end. Now, when we talk about dam safety management, we've been able to see the failures, we've been able to learn from these failures as well. There's the aspect of dam safety that now came in. And my colleague mentioned about it being so important that the US set a day that is now it's taken by the entire world, or rather it's the day set aside to create awareness on on the need for dam safety generally, on the need to have these conversations and why we should integrate them when it comes to the construction of dams. So my colleague mentioned that, and now I want to delve into some of the efforts that have been made by humanity. from these lessons that they've learned. So when it comes to some of the international standards, we have a couple of bodies. The first one being the International Commission on Large Dams, which I earlier mentioned. So they have around 105 member countries, Kenya being one of them. That is key to note and to comment on. So Kenya is a member, so there's a body referred to as KENCOL. It's there, it exists. We also have within ICOL, they've been able to prepare around over 180 technical bulletins. So these bulletins basically have information on that dam owners can refer to. ICOL basically sets it's the global benchmark. It sets what should be done within dam safety management and construction, anything to do with dams. So it's a very it's a very key body when it comes to dam owners, dam operators, and dam management in general. Then next we have the American Association of State Dam Safety Officials. This is based in the US. I have been able to be a beneficiary of this personally. So they do have free online dam safety training courses for anyone interested to learn anything on dam safety. They have a YouTube channel that I've been able to benefit from. They also have information that is publicly accessible on dam failures and incidents. They have a database, and they are widely used internationally also as a practical reference. Next, we have the Canadian Dam Association, and we are very privileged to have a member from the CDA. So they also have globally referenced guidelines. They've been able to help the world in so many ways in terms of dam safety management, and I'm sure our very able panelists will be able to delve into what they've been able to achieve possibly. Then they've been able to partner with ENTRO, which is the Eastern Nile Technical Regional Office, and we have a representative here, Dr. Aman. They have a center where they are able to train policymakers, engineers, and so many more people involved in dams. They have a center referred to as the Nile Center for Dam Safety. And now, when we come to Kenya, the Kenyan setting, there are efforts that have been made. We have the Constitution of Kenya, which sets the foundation. It says that there's need to have there's the right to clean environment and water, and after that now comes the Water Act, which is very key for us. So under this, the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority was given the mandate to come up with an act, and they were able to do so. So we have the National Water Harvesting and Storage Regulations 2025, which has construction standards and general operational safety standards as well. So this is a positive step for Kenya. Then next we have the MCA or the NEMA Act. They're able to give provisions in terms of environmental oversight. But now I want to mention what gap comes in now. When we come to the gap within Kenya's legal framework, the gap is that we do not have a standalone Dam Safety Act. This is very key to note because you find that globally, several countries have their own Dam Safety Acts. But for Africa and Kenya, to be specific, you find that dam safety, the aspect of dam safety is fragmented. We have the Water Act mentioning something on dam safety. We have the National Water Harvesting and Storage Regulations 2025 mentioning something on dam safety, which is a commendable step for us, for Kenya. But there is need for us to have a standalone dam safety act, for us to have something comprehensive to ensure that dam safety is covered 100%, if not majorly, to avoid catastrophes in general. Just to mention, since I had mentioned intro, we're very pleased to have Dr. Ali Aman, as I mentioned earlier, and he's been able to actually for TARDA specifically, which we've been able to benefit from intro directly. So they came to TARDA at around last year, and from what they came with, they presented to us what the standards that are there for dam safety management, and we were shocked. We were able to learn a lot, and from our engagements, we've been able to have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and we've been beneficiaries of intro, and we are super grateful. And this is why we have this conversation now, because we were able to gain insights on what actually dam safety management is from intro from Dr. Ali Aman. So thank you for that. Now that you've mentioned some of the policies that we have, the main gap that we have, which is not having a Dam Safety Act, I want to look at other gaps and challenges beyond that. We do not have a national dam safety. To move forward. We cannot move forward with dam safety management if we do not know the numbers that we have currently. Yes, there was the satellite image that showed that we have over 4,000 plus dams, have a proper database on the number of dams that we have alongside the hazard classification. So when you talk about hazard classification, or rather the risk classification of these dams, we look at beyond the size. I know most people will tend to think that we look at the size, but beyond the size, we look at the populations that are there downstream. You look at the infrastructure that is there downstream. So if there are people downstream, we have a high population density, and we also have a number of key infrastructure, or rather national assets, then that automatically becomes an extreme case, or it definitely guides how hazard is classified. Then we also have, we do not have mandatory emergency action plans. Maybe we do, but they are not as comprehensive as they should be based on international standards. Then alongside that is the issue of institutional fragmentation, which I think will be looked at when we have the Dam Safety Act. I've mentioned the gaps. Now I think we can look at the positive side, which is what we can do for Kenya, which is now we can move to the recommendations. On to the recommendations, as I had earlier highlighted, I think it's very key for us to have a National Dam Safety Act. South Africa has one. You can try and see what they've been able to achieve and have our very own Dam Safety Act as Kenya. This will then now inform what other activities will come up within dam safety management. We can also do a bit of, not a bit of, but we really need technical capacity. Since I think in Kenya, we do not have courses, dam engineering courses, to be specific. That needs to be looked at. This is where we loop in everyone, even the educational sector. We also need to borrow from international standards, from ENTRO, from CDA, from ICOL, and I think we'll be able to see why we need them because of the insights they have from what they present. We also need to look at building a national dam registry, which will be very key for us to move forward, and to also integrate climate change and involve communities. It's very key to involve communities so that they are also aware on what dams are, the risks involved, so that when it comes to emergency action planning, they're able to understand what they need to do to also be safe. As I conclude, a dam that is safe is a national asset, and we've been able to see that dams are not, they're ticking time bombs if they are not well managed, but they are actually lifelines. They are very key for human development. So I want to come to conclude that a dam that fails is a national disaster. And right now, our dams are a ticking bomb, especially with the fact that we have the Super El Nino coming in. It is very key for everyone to come together. That is the policymakers, the educational sector, those in the field, the engineers, and everyone that can be roped in for the betterment of humanity and for the betterment of our national security. Kenya has the dams, and I think President Ruto, yes, had mentioned that he wanted to oversee the construction of 50 large dams in Kenya. So we will have even more numbers in terms of the dams. We have the people, we have the institutions. What we need now is the law, the system, and the will to act. Thank you for listening to my insights, and I look forward to hearing more from the rest of the panelists. Thank you. Back to you, moderator.
Thank you so much. Our first panel Mr. Liban and Engineer Balkisa. That was quite a good session. Thank you very much for those insightful perspectives. And what comes out clearly is that dam safety is not only a technical issue, but also deeply tied to how our institutions are structured and how accountability is defined and enforced. You have listed quite some deep points. I will not be able to summarize all of them at this point, but they are well noted and appreciated. And at this juncture, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Tony Bennett, who has been able to join us. So Tony Bennett, in your absence, we gave you a very delightful introduction. Forgive me for not going back to that, but know that the audience here appreciate that you're able to join us now. And we'll give you an opportunity to talk to us, to greet us, and tell us more about dam safety from that international perspective. So welcome. So without further ado, I want to momentarily shift this focus to Kenya water governance, evolution and regulatory framework. And when we look at Kenya's water sector reforms over the years, particularly the shift from the Water Act 2002 to the Water Act 2016, Mr. Engineer Gaita, sorry, what would you say were the key governance weaknesses that made this change necessary? I know that one of the intentions of these reforms were to separate policy, regulation, infrastructure management. In your view, has this separation improved accountability in practice, or do we still have overlaps and gray areas that affect how dam safety is managed? So the floor is yours, Engineer Gaita. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Bonawashira. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Please
Thank
proceed.
you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Glad to meet all of you. As you are told, my name is Robinson Gaita. I've been in the water sector. Actually, for 40 years, I worked in the ministry from 1979 to 2019. When I left, and then lately I've been a board member, as Mr. Washira said, but that was until yesterday when my term ended. As he said, my experience has been quite substantial in terms of the water sector reform. So the question then that comes is why the reforms? A little bit of background in terms of history. The ministry responsible for water, called the Ministry for Water Development, was actually established in 1974. Prior to that, it had existed as a department, either in the Ministry of Public Works or in sometimes it was the Ministry of Agriculture. So it was a department that kept on moving, within as the government was formed. But until 1974, when it was realized that water is very important for life, in fact, water is life, then it was agreed, it was set up, it was established, therefore, as a standalone ministry in 1974. At that time, the slogan of course, you must appreciate that it was 14 years after independence, so there was all this, euphoria, and the main slogan then was water for all by the year 2000. When the year 2000 rolled in, we took stock of what had happened, and you realize that actually, instead of water for all by the year 2000, only about 50% of the Kenyan population had access to water. Secondly, little attention was actually paid to water resources. There was more attention, obviously, for the water service provision aspect. And then there was also the institutional weaknesses. It was a very fragmented sector. You had, for example, just by way of example, you had the local authorities providing water, you had the Ministry of Health providing water, you had the Ministry of Agriculture providing water. So it was fragmented. Nobody was responsible for the actual service provision and for water resources management. So we took stock of that and realized what we need. We do need to do the water sector reform. It was vital. And therefore, that is when we came up with the, after studies, of course, we came up with the Water 2002. And if we were to say, in a nutshell, what were the principal considerations in the Water Act 2002, basically, we realized that we needed to make somebody responsible, legally responsible for certain aspects in the water sector. So what we did is we separated, there was separation of water resources from water service provision. You know, sometimes when we talk, people sometimes do get
You mean that on the corner of the
oh, sorry. Can I continue? Yeah, so we do get sometimes people not differentiating between water resources and water service provision. So it's quite important for purposes of the water sector reform to raise that the two are quite different. So the first was separation of water resources management from water service provision. The second consideration or aspect of the Water Act, the legal framework, was decentralization. We actually devolved services to the regional and the local level. And we created institutions to do that. Then there was also the establishment of the autonomous regulation. Prior to that, the ministry at that time was doing everything, was doing the water resources management, was doing the water service provision, was doing regulation, was doing policy setting, and so on. So that, if you were to say, what is the main key considerations in terms of the Water Act 2002, those three are critical. Then the institutions created, obviously, I could go on and on, but basically, in a nutshell, we had basically in terms of regulation, we had the WARMA, the Water Resources Management Authority, that is responsible for regulation on the water resources management side, and then the Water Services Regulatory Board for regulation on the water service provision side. In terms of implementation, we had the water service boards and then the water service providers. Now, the water service boards at that time, that is 2002, were now legally responsible for provision of water services. They could sue and they could be sued if you did not have water. So for the first time in 2002, we had people, institutions who could be held responsible for either water resources management or water services provision. So you asked me the question, what were the impacts of these reforms? What we noticed was that the water sector became better organized. Secondly, there was increased transparency and accountability by these institutions. Those institutions were also audited annually, and therefore they were answerable. Then what we did notice that because of the water service providers, these were the agents of water service boards for provision of water services at local level. We noticed an increased performance and also rising service levels, and they were customer orientated. Before, government used to provide, or local authorities, but now there was emphasis on customer orientation. Then also access increased to the water, to the rural areas. Then a notable impact we can say is that we became, as a result of the reforms, the sector became bankable. We noticed investment increased in 2002 from around for development, that is, Kenya shillings 2 billion in 2002, and by 2010, the investment finances available for development of the sector was 32 billion. That is a jump from 2 billion to 32 billion. Now, that now covers why I go into into 2002, the provisions of 2002, is because it is critical to understand the 2002 provisions so that you know how we ended up in the Water Act 2016. Now, the main issue here is that in 2010, we got the Constitution of Kenya. Now, the Constitution of Kenya, when it was promulgated and actually became the Constitution, the law, all preceding acts, including the Water Act, had to be revised and made to align with the Constitution. Because Constitution, of course, is, as the lawyers will tell you, overrides everything. So perhaps you would allow me to give what basically was the difference and what did the Constitution provide. So if you look at the Chapter 4 Bill of Rights, which now became a constitutional obligation, and then you look at Article 43D, it said that everybody, these are the socio-economic rights, it said every person has the right to clean and safe water in adequate quantities. That you must keep in mind, because that was the key. And how can we say it? It became now a constitutional obligation for the state to provide that service. It's now a constitutional obligation. Prior to the Constitution, it was not, but now it became a constitutional obligation for the state to provide every person with clean and safe water and in adequate quantities. The second, sorry.
Engineer, I think you have well captured my question, and you have highlighted some issues that I would like to come back to you on.
Okay.
So sorry. If you may allow me to proceed, then I'll come back to that issue, because we are touching on maybe my next question. Okay. And how this Water Act now comes to relate to our topic today, which is dam safety. So I would like to take this discussion further to the context of the region perspective. So thank you for that national level perspective. And building on that national perspective, we now want to broaden this conversation beyond Kenya to the regional level, because many of the challenges and solutions around dam safety are shared across borders. So, Dr. Mann, drawing from the Nile Basin Initiative and ENTRO experience, what does effective dam safety governance look like at the national level? Which lessons from your regional work do you consider most directly transferable to a context like Kenya as it seeks to strengthen its governance over its strategic water asset? So, Dr. Mann, welcome on board. Kindly share with us your experience and expertise on this issue. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for this excellent webinar, which is very informative for experience sharing, especially to initiate dam safety management in our region, particularly in Kenya. Okay, when we come to the question, dam safety management, especially in our regions, is slightly moving forward, but we have a long way to go. Kenya is one of us working in Nile Basin countries. Kenya is one of our member countries, and with minor difference between states, but all have common challenges. Especially what I want to highlight to move forward with dam safety in Kenya is collaboration, especially importance of collaboration between professionals and cooperation between countries. When you see experience from around the world, sharing of knowledge in the best practice is one of the important items in dam safety management. In old days, when different countries start dam constructions, dam construction accompanied by several failures due to several reasons. Due to this, in 1928, countries came together to share best practice and experience and establish ICOLD after several dam failures, particularly after failure of San Francisco Dam in USA. After that, during those days, no need of experience to construct, to design, or to operate dams. No rules and regulations, no cooperation between countries, and experience is also not a mandatory to design a dam. Because of that, there are several challenges the country faced. As a result, countries come together and start, experts, owners come together and start best practice, experience, lessons from operational dams. As a result, they managed to minimize risk on dams. Even though we cannot avoid risk at all, no matter how we design or operate dams with best state of practice, risk is still there, but we can reduce it. Or what is safe today may not be safe tomorrow. From regional perspective, to come to the regional challenge we have, which Kenya also shared, are the following. Like stated earlier, Kenya has over 400 dams, 4,000 dams. NBI countries, according to recent inventory, over 500 dams owned by NBI countries. From this, there are weak technical capacities, institutional capacities are not as needed. In many countries, regulation is not in place, in draft, or non-existent. Inconsistency in designs, in most cases, consultant design dams as they want because of no strict regulations, which enforces them to follow the best state of practice. As a result, we have previous dam failures experience in the region, which is not an exception for Kenya. There are several hazards due to natural environment and the climate change effects. All these add up with aging of dams, affect the safety of dams in our region as an alarm, because dam failure is one of the worst man-made disaster which will happen in a peacetime. To overcome those challenges, like in Kenya, as well as other parts of Africa, NBI conducted several activities, and there are achievements to improve dam safety management in our regions. This includes establishment of dam safety has been done in different countries, and strengthening of dam safety units, including in Kenya. Intro has been done on this. With Nile Basin, conducting inventory of dams and developing database, especially inventory of dams is one of the important and fundamental step for dam safety assurance, because data is very, very important for any intervention measures, or to prioritize dams based on risk. We cannot address all at once because of, especially for countries like Kenya having large portfolio of dams, over 4,000. If budget is one of the limitations, even though there is a budget, human power is, skill power is a limitations to address at once. Because of that, it's very important to prioritize in terms of risk, based on risk-informed decision making. conduct inventory of dams, develop database, and also develop dam safety risk management framework, which can be used as a guidance in the member state as well as in other parts of the world. Intro also developed dam safety regulatory framework, which can be used by dam safety units, regulatory units, like TARDA, and the guidelines, which is very, very important to avoid the inconsistency we have in our dam designs, constructions, operation. There are several guidelines intro developed and published. It's available online as well as in hard copies. And capacity building is one of the important aspects. Continuous capacity building is very, very essential for dam safety assurance in our regions, including in Kenya, because state of practice in dam engineering as well as dam safety change with time. For new young engineers, there is a significant capacity gaps because of limited exposures, as well as for also senior experts. Training on the best state of practice, sharing best practice and experience is one of important items in dam safety assurance in our regions. To attain this, there are several ongoing activities done by Intro, but what I want to focus on is about the regional initiatives, which is Nile Center for Dam Safety, which closely working with Kenya for capacity building, for technical and institutional capacity building to manage dam safety risk in a sustainable way. The objective of the center is just to assist member organizations in building their capacities. There are 3 focus areas of the centers: capacity building, sharing best practice in the regions, and technical support. Because as I said earlier, sharing best practice, best lesson is very, very important because all dams and the dam sites are unique. So all are very, very important. All dam sites in Kenya are very, very, very important. There is no similar dams in the dam type, in the sites. This is very, very, very vital resource, which we can share among ourselves within the country as well as abroad in the regions. Because of this, Nile Center of Dam Safety start activity with 3 focus areas: capacity building, sharing best practice, and the technical support for the members. It takes about 10 years for concept phase to initial planning, detail work, and implementation phase, which have implemented for the last 1 year after approval by the Council of Ministers in February 2025. So Intro is progressing now from 4 countries to 10 NBI countries for dam safety capacity building, from 10 NBI countries to Africa level, and especially for young engineers capacity building, passing Africa in other parts of the world. This center is under building and experience sharing program. Until now, experts from over 34 countries of the world, 23 from Africa, and 11 from abroad. And the center have developed very interesting modules, which covers the center, which covers all phases of dam development, from planning phase to design, construction, operational phase of dam development, including risk management. We are closely working with all dam owners in Kenya, even though the involvement varies between organizations, but still we are onboarding more. We have collaboration with well-known international organizations like Canadian Dam Associations, International Commission of Large Dams, and many more. We have also collaborating with regional partners like Senegal River Basin Authority, Niger Basin, River Basin Authority, Zam Basins, and many more, as well as all power companies in our regions, ministries in charge of water development, as well as regulation, and research institutes. In addition to separate training, different trainings, we are focusing on 3 areas for professional certificates on dam safety, focusing on 3 areas on hydrological, dam engineering, which covers more of civil and hydraulic, and the geotechnical areas. So finally, dam safety assurance is very, very, very important for us, particularly in Kenya, because of a large number of dams we are operating, particularly small dams we have, which was designed by very limited guidance and having no proper operations. It needs an attention, a need of capacity building to bridge technical gaps, also one of the important aspects we have to at least focus on with respect to our regions, including Kenya. And I think we have a long way to move together on this dam safety capacity building and experience sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Ali.
This is the end of
I'm glad you are not sugarcoating things. You are pointing at challenges as they are. And the good thing about you is that you're also not leaving us hanging. You're giving us actual and actionable solution that we can actually implement from regulations, guidelines, policy, and even the technical capacity. So you have rightfully hazards that due to climate change and aging dam safety. And these are issues that we really need to address so that we can have a comprehensive dam safety management systems. You have pointed also to the solution. Ideally, what we need to establish a dam safety management system. We need to conduct inventory of our dams, build on our technical capacity, develop risk management frameworks. So these are some issues that I think are critical when we are having such a dialogue on dam safety. And I'm glad that you have really taken your time to address them to our benefit. So I'll be getting back to you, especially on the regulations. I know you have done some really good work in terms of regulations and guidelines. And we'll be speaking more to that, and also including some wonderful infrastructure works that are going on in Ethiopia. We would like you maybe in a minute or two, to expound on that, but I'll get back to you. So our final panelist is Tony Bennett, and we want to move this discussion now to that global dimension of dam safety, and looking at international best practices and lessons from advanced dam safety management systems around the world. So, Mr. Bennett, Canada manages more than 15,000 dams. 1,100 large dams are part of this, and are actually recognized by ICOD, an institution that you are part of. Unlike many countries, dam safety in Canada is primarily a provincial and territorial responsibility, with the Canadian Dam Association providing the framework and the guidance that underpins industry best practices. So given your extensive leadership roles within the CDA and the ICOD, and your experience advising dam owners, regulators, governments, and dam safety governance risk management, what would you say are the defining characteristics of a strong, effective dam safety management system? Further, what governance, technical, and institutional mechanism are necessary to ensure that dam safety is managed proactively throughout a dam's life cycle rather than reactively after problems emerge. Mr. Tony Bennett, I would like to leave the floor so that you can take your time to talk to us more about this dam safety management system. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Francis. Francis, can you hear me now? Francis, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Tony, although there seems to be some bit of echo.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
Yes,
Can you
we
hear me
can.
now?
We have lost you a bit.
Yes, Tony, we can hear you.
Mr. Tony? I think there's some challenge, I think, with the microphone or maybe the connection.
Tony?
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
May I proceed kindly?
Yeah.
Hi, Ali. Can you hear me though?
Yes, loud and clear now.
Can they hear me? Probably not.
Mr. Tony, we can hear you
Ali.
now. You can start.
Ali, can you hear me now? You can, Francis.
Yes, I can hear you.
Francis, can you hear me? No, probably not.
We can hear you now. Tony.
Yes, we can hear you. Mr. Tony, we can hear you. Just go ahead and start your presentation. I think we are good now.
Hello, Tony. Tony? Can you hear us, Tony?
Mr. Tony?
Hi, Ali. Yes,
I can hear you. I don't know whether you're able to
I
proceed.
can see that you can share it, but I don't think that they can hear me.
We are actually hearing you quite well.
Oh, they can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, Ali, maybe put up,
If the presentation is the challenge, maybe we can just speak. We share the slides maybe later. We can just follow as you present. That is okay with
yeah,
us?
yeah, maybe it's this one. Oh, yeah. So just go down, Ali, in the interest of time. Go down to the one on governance. And Francis, I apologize, but please share the slides with the group afterwards. Keep going down, Ali, a little bit more. There, that one. So what I wanted to say, maybe, Francis, in answer to your question, is you're quite right. In Canada, we dam safety is managed by the provinces. So we don't have any national guidance on dam safety in Canada. We really rely on our provincial regulators and the Canadian Dam Association. Just one more click, Ali, if you would. So what I've heard so far on the line is, and the presentations prior to mine were very interesting for sure, but we talked a lot about not having the regulations in place. In Canada, only 4 of our 10 provinces have dam safety regulations. The rest of the 6 provinces all rely on good guidance that's provided by the Canadian Dam Association. So that's that big yellow line that's up at the top, where owners are enabled by government through training and guidance. So I think the key is to provide that good industry practice guidance. And once you have that framework laid out as the guidance, because that'll be much more detailed than what you would ever have written in a regulation, that will, the next piece is to get the companies, whether they're government-owned agencies or private enterprise, to buy into those guidance. And how they do that is by enabling a dam safety policy statement that needs to be set at the highest levels of the organization. So, pardon me, the Canadian practice is that dam safety policy you see there in dark blue, that would be signed by the president or the CEO or the director of the government agency. And it's usually fairly simple, might be just 1 or 2 pages, but it lays out the policy statement of what guidance they're going to follow and what commitments they're going to make in all those areas that the previous speaker spoke about, emergency management, risk assessments, regular surveillance of the dams, doing periodic reviews by independent consultants. Those are all would be laid out in that policy, would say that we would do that. The next level down is to have a dam safety program document. Now that document details what we mean when we talk about, for example, periodic reviews by independent consultants. And it would say that these need to be carried out on whatever 10-year frequency, 15-year frequency. It would lay out what the scope of those reviews should be, who they have to go to, and what happens with the recommendations. Because the last thing we need is a consultant's report that's written that doesn't follow through with actions. So that's in the program document. The next level down is having good standards of care. So that would, again, articulate what the templates that need to be used for doing dam inspections, doing tests of the flow control equipment, what components need to be tested, how frequently, to make sure that our spillway gates, control valves, all remain reliable. Then going down to the next level, the procedures. So every single piece of equipment that is involved with flow control has to have a detailed procedure, how you operate it safely, how we test it safely, to verify its use. And those are pieces that the government enables by having that good industry guidance kind of up front. Our dam safety guidance. Then maybe Ali, slide down a few slides. One couple more, maybe one more. Another one. There. So this is the framework. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Stop there. So in Canada, we've adopted this framework for our dam safety management system. So you can see there are 8 basic elements going around from developing the policy and setting objectives, getting the organization to buy in at a very senior level. This isn't something that can be driven from the bottom up. It has to come from the top of the organization down. It has all the elements in there of setting up your plans, operating safely, monitoring those operations, and monitoring the performance of the dams, do periodic safety assessments, looking across your portfolio, reviewing not only the dams themselves, but also your program. So having periodic audits of that program to make sure you're following that good guidance. And then having a real commitment to continually improve, because the industry is changing. There's better methodologies today than there was 5 years ago, than there was 15 years ago. So your organizations need to make commitments to make sure you're part of organizations like ICOLD and what NELSAP is leading in terms of training, so that you're kept up to date. So that's the framework. If people on this call are familiar with some of the ICOLD documentation, you would know that that follows very closely with what you see in ICOLD Bulletin 154 on dam safety in the operational phase, and ICOLD Bulletin 191, which is Principles Framework of a Dam Safety Program. So that's, I think, in a nutshell. Maybe I'll stop there and welcome any other question. but there's lots that Kenya can do without having to change legislation. I mean, in a perfect world, yes, you would, but I think the key is actually having good industry guidance developed and getting the organizations trained and buying into those good guidance. So maybe I'll stop there, Francis. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. And I'd like to quickly follow up with a question. Mr. Tony, your mic is still on. I'd like to quickly follow up with a question. You have not really in depth, but touched really on the aspect that really matter when it comes to dam safety. And from your perspective, what do we need to do as a country in order to fully integrate those dam safety management systems into a context like Kenya? Are there legal, the regulatory frameworks that we need to change in order for that dam safety to fit into our network? Is there a way we need to realign ourselves so that we can best adopt and integrate the dam safety management system for our specific case? Or is it a general sort of international system that basically you just have to adopt up, or are there changes that you have to make internally so that you can be able to fully, and what challenges are there that we need to streamline before we can actually have a proper dam safety management system in place? To you, Tony Bennett, I'll start with you. And this session just take 2 minutes each so that we may proceed to other panelists.
And can you hear me, Francis?
I can hear you. Kindly, your 2 minutes starts now. Thank you.
And there's no echo?
There's no echo now. Please proceed.
Okay, good.
Sorry, the echo is back.
Yeah.
I think Francis, you're muted.
So maybe as he prepares to join, we can move to the next panelist for the sake of time. Yeah, and I want to ask this question to Engineer Gaita. We now also have instruments like the water harvesting and regulations in Kenya. I think the most recent ones from 2025. Sorry for that technical issue. Back to you, Engineer Gaita. My question is, we have instruments like the water harvesting and storage regulations, and my question is, how significant are these regulations in strengthening dam safety compliance in practice? And where do you think the biggest gaps are when it comes to implementation on the ground? I'm asking this because we are buying a lot from a regional and international perspective, but would like to know what is the status of our internal regulations, and maybe could there be a challenge with our own internal systems, or where exactly the challenge is, as even as we look to build our borders to see what other people are doing and what we can buy from them. So how significant are these regulations in strengthening dam safety compliance in practice? And where do you think the biggest gaps are when it comes to implementation on the ground? Over to you, Engineer Gaita.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wachira. I think that on that question, on the regulations, as I explained a little bit earlier, I left the ministry quite a while ago, but maybe I can give the background in terms of why the national water harvesting, and then subsequently what is the background. Maybe by way of example, by way of laying background to that question, and then somebody else can contribute. Somebody a little bit more familiar with the regulations, because by the time they came out, I had already left the sector myself. The constitution of the new constitution of Kenya, the 2010, as you're aware, created two levels of government. That is the national government and the county government, and each was given its roles and functions. So quickly, I'm just giving you a background. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm just giving a background, then somebody else can take over from there. In terms of distribution of functions between national government and county government, for purposes of your question, one was that water resources became a national function. Consumer protection is a function, is a national function, and national public works. National public works is a national function. Is a national government function. Then the county public works and services, including water and sanitation services, those are county functions. So, in terms of national public works, what we did is that we developed, we aligned the Water Act 2002 now to these new provisions, and one of the institutions that we created was the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority, and that one was to develop, and on behalf of the national government, national public water works for water storage. Okay, this now is a national public water works arising out of the constitutional distribution of functions of the national public works. Okay, so I'll repeat. The main purpose or function of the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority was to develop, on behalf of the national government, national public water works for water storage. Then, again, I go to the constitutional provision in terms of national functions. And one of them in actually fourth schedule, we're talking about the fourth schedule, is that water protection, hydraulic engineering, and safety of dams is a national function. So you have the constitutional framework, the constitutional background that actually specifies in the fourth schedule in terms of distribution of functions that hydraulic engineering and safety of dams is a national function. So out of that one now, you can develop the subsidiary regulation and so on. So I'll leave the subsidiary legislation to somebody else. I think that's how I can answer your question.
Thank you so much, Engineer. And that is still quite very insightful. And I want to ask the last questions before we close over to the question and answer section briefly. And this one I will address to our first panelist, and Engineer Balkisa. Dam safety ultimately begins with clear institutional framework. So from the perspective of policy, regulation, ownership and operations, how well defined are the roles and responsibilities of various agencies involved in managing Kenya strategic water infrastructure? And where do you see the biggest gaps or overlaps in governance, interagency coordination, and accountability? What reforms or mechanisms are needed to strengthen an effective dam safety governance framework? Kindly, in about 2 or 3 minutes, take us through.
Thank you, Engineer Washira. So I think what I can take from that, or rather what I can answer, is that first, on the roles and responsibilities, they are there, but they are not as comprehensive, especially in terms of the responsibilities. You find that there are gaps, and these gaps are mostly coming from the policy gaps that we have. Yes, Engineer Gaita has been able to enlighten us on the Water Act 2016 that was reformed following devolution. And we've also been informed of that the fact that the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority that came as a result of the Water Act 2016 specifically was to develop the water infrastructure, dams and the like. But there's that gap that WRA is there, yes, the Water Resources Authority, and we also have KenGen who does operations. We have TARDA being a dam owner as well, and we have the county government. But you find that we do not have a specific institution looking at dam safety comprehensively. So this is one of the gaps. And also in terms of fragmentation, that is one. We have the fragmentation in terms of policy. We have different policies, but the dam safety aspect is not still looked at comprehensively. When it comes to institutions, we also have fragmentation. We have various bodies within the Ministry of Water, the Ministry of Energy, and the Ministry of ESC, South and Regional Development. They all have a specific function when it comes to dams, but you do not have a specific authority looking at dam safety. That is also another gap in terms of fragmentation without having the dam safety gap being filled in. Next, we have frameworks in terms an issue of fragmentation in terms of safety frameworks. They are also fragmented, and that's why you have issues such as private dams not being registered. You have, like for example, the Solai dam that's failed. It was as a result of it was actually later found out that it was not in the dam register, the national dam register. So you find that fragmentation in terms of safety frameworks, who is supposed to do this, who is supposed to follow up on recommendations, like I think Tony Bennett mentioned, that was very critical. And also we have the issue on fragmentation in terms of data. You do not have a unified database in terms of dam register. Then I think in terms of recommendation, from my perspective, but that has somehow changed from what Tony Bennett has mentioned. My recommendation was to have a Dam Safety Act, so that at the policy level, we are able to now trickle down we are able to have the domino effect in terms of dam safety management. Policy will inform what will come afterwards. From policy, we will have the various aspects coming in. As Mr. Tony Bennett mentioned, in the dam safety management system, we saw that policy was at the top. So that is my perspective. But he has mentioned that there's no need for policy recommendations, and that's what we need is good industry development. So I don't know, maybe I can throw that back. Maybe that will be covered maybe in the Q&A session. Maybe he can inform us why, is there a way we could maybe not have policy amendments and somehow still integrate dam safety management system within what we have? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer. And thank you also for being brief. And the Dam Safety Act to be enacted. I've said that and I've noted it somewhere. I think that could be revolutionary in a way. And I also think that should form basis for a deeper discussion. So I don't know whether you're able to get to Dr. Ali. I wanted to have our last question. Dr. Ali.
Yes.
Are you still there? Yes. There's one question that I would not feel good if I left without having put it out there for the benefit of us all. It is with respect to Ethiopia, which has successfully delivered some of Africa's most ambitious water infrastructure projects, including the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and the Gibe Dam. These mega projects have required not only significant engineering capability, but also robust approaches to dam safety, risk management, environmental stewardship, and long-term operational preparedness. Now, from your perspective and experience, what are the key dam safety lessons and institutional insights that can be drawn from the planning, construction, commissioning, and operation of such large-scale projects? How do countries ensure that as dams become larger and more complex, safety considerations remain fully integrated throughout the project lifecycle? So from design and construction through to operation monitoring and emergency preparedness. Dr. Mann, kindly indulge us just with respect to that question.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think as the size of dam increase, the risk also increase if the other factors are similar. So, especially in specific to Ethiopia, constructing very large, huge storage dams for 2-3 decades, I think safety aspects start from the planning phase. Site selections, design, construction, operation, and the maintenance, all dam safety start at the planning phase. If we missed at the early phase, it's quite difficult. Addressing dam safety at the operational phase is sometimes impractical. The easiest, the best, the most practical, and the cheapest dam safety assurance is starting at the early phase of planning, design, and also construction phase. At operational phase, we will maintain some small issues. With respect to Ethiopia, because those mega projects needs capacity building and the dedication also. I think as a good lesson for Kenya, in addition to infrastructures, capacity building, capacitating young professionals during construction of those mega projects is very, very important. Because for even capacity building, instead of classroom training, giving training on sites under construction sites are very, very ideal, which simplify everything for young professionals as well as for experts. So it needs equal investment on safety aspects, especially for those dams planned by expatriate or international organizations, which are not local. Onboarding experts, experts in planning, design, in the construction phase is very, very important in long-term dam safety assurance. Thank you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm saying in the interest of time, thank you so much, Dr. Aman for those insights. And we have really taken note of what our panelists have shared today. I would like to apologize for some of the serious technical challenges that we have had today, but I hope the message is home one way or the other. And before we go further, I would like to open up this session on question and answer so that we can engage our participants on some of the questions that you have raised and maybe give one or two a chance to maybe present or ask a question or share the remarks in a minute orally. So with me here, I have a question that I've gotten from the chat box, which goes, explain how to identify critical control points in dams, and is there a hazard analysis critical plan in place to ensure dam safety management system is achieved, has achieved its general question, is achieved, sorry. So let me read the question again, and I think if Mr. Tony, you can be able to answer this question, I would like you to tackle this one. So again, allow me to read the question again. So explain how can identify critical control points in dams, and is there a hazard analysis critical plan in place to ensure dam safety management system is achieved? Mr. Tony, I don't know whether you can hear us. Okay, I don't know whether I can open this maybe to any panelist who may feel comfortable to respond to this. So the critical control points in dams, and is there a hazard analysis critical plan in place to ensure dam safety management is achieved? So I don't know, also maybe from our participants, you don't really have to be the one asking questions.
Okay, to say
okay.
When we design and construct dams, there is one of risk management framework, which is very, very important for dam safety management, is dam potential failure mode analysis. We have to do dam potential failure mode analysis. In this, what we will identify is the risk associated with all components, including critical control points, gates, spillways, bottom outlets, foundations, instrument, everything, water pressures, everything depending on the potential failure mode, all potential risk associated with the dam operations will be identified in terms of priority. What we have to follow up during the monitoring stage. There are alarm levels. We can initiate alarm if some threshold exceed according to set in the designs. So for all items, depending on, for example, instrumentations, if we install an instrument to monitor uplift pressure within the concrete dams, threshold, there are operational limits, lower and high limits. If it exceeds that, we have to trigger for emergency situations. I think it's very general. It's specific with all components of dams with respect to the parameter we are following up, especially whether we have to operate gates or not. There are several aspects because of time. I think it's better to stop here because.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for tackling that. Do we have any other questions from the audience, from our participants? I think I'll give the last one to Balkisa, who was also our panelist. I think he had a question. we can, she can pose a question and then maybe we can call it a session. Welcome, Balkisa.
Thank you. So I had a question for either Tony Bennett or Dr. Ali Aman. So something caught my ear. So when we highlighted that we may need a Dam Safety Act and maybe we may need an authority to inform dam safety procedures and what should happen in dam safety management. But something was mentioned by Tony Bennett. He mentioned that we do not necessarily need to have policy reforms. We can somewhat integrate the dam safety management system to what we have currently, that is our institutions and our policies. So I wanted to get his perspective on that, why he mentioned that, and how we can be able to actually do that.
Can you repeat, Francis, because it's a little bit echoes when she speaks. I think, can you repeat the question?
Sorry, maybe they can repeat it. So in terms of dam safety management, we've mentioned that, or rather there's a recommendation that I came up with from my research, that we may need a Dam Safety Act, that we may not necessarily need policy reforms, but we could somewhat integrate the dam safety management system into what we have, into our policies and our institutions. So I wanted to get his perspective on that. How do we actually do that? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, just if I got your question correctly, I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the dam safety management system, you need to improve, depends on the hazard class of dams and the number of dams, especially hazard class of dams. If we have medium and low hazard class dams, according to hazard classification of the dams, we don't need as such strict regulations to in place for dam safety management. But we have done actually in NBI intro has done the regulatory assessment which needs to be in place in all member states, depending on hazard class of dams as well as portfolio of dams we are managing. That's why it depends on that. I think that the perspective of Tony depend on regulations you have, existing regulations in the law, plus dam hazard, especially depends on dam hazard classification. Just for some countries, it needs only some inspection, some guidance on inspections, but for other countries, like country having very large storage dams with high hazard class, strict regulations are very important. It depends on those issues. I think that is what I thought. I think I'm not sure whether I got your question correctly or not.
Engineer, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Buru.
One, I wanted just to comment and say one, it was very educative, and one, I recommend that such a discussion be held in the morning hours so that people can have a high concentration. But my question is, as regards the Water Act and so forth, we have had so many cases of the dam havocs and so forth. Do you have any at all, anywhere they mention about compensation in case one is affected by the water havocs, like we had Sorai and Maimahio? And two, how prepared are we now as regards to dam safety? We understand very soon we are going to have El Nino, and it may have a cost effect. So those two questions on the compensation, and two, how prepared are we? And perhaps thirdly, what is the take home financially or what is the importance of the discussion financially to take home to us as the authority or individually? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mburu. I think I will direct your two questions quickly to Engineer Robinson. Briefly, could you kindly help us tackle those two questions?
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
I think there are basically three questions in terms of water. And unfortunately, I may agree with the contributor in the sense that we probably need more time because I didn't tackle adequately the issue of the alignment of the 2002 Act to the Constitution to come up with the 2016. But having said that, I think in terms of dam havocs, catastrophes, in terms of compensation, I think that would probably, in terms of assessment of the damages, they are the relevant authorities or institutions that can do that. For example, if there are crops, if there are crops involved, there is that the dam owner, the dam owner is responsible. It can be done. It can be tackled in the legal way. Loss of life, I think there's a way to do it. And the example we have is this very unfortunate incident of the Solai. I think there's court cases going on in that respect in terms of reaching closure on that one.
Yeah, I think that one, Engineer, is clear.
In terms of financial take home, in terms of the dam safety, the second question was dam safety. I think that was a very good question from the participant. The whole idea of this forum today is actually to discuss that very, very important topic, especially as the participant pointed out, the coming El Nino. My contribution would be that already the Constitution has given that function of dam safety to the national government. And the national government institutions, for example, one of them is TARDA. So we have the constitutional background in terms of the distribution of functions, that safety of dams is mentioned in the distribution of functions. So that is something we can really we can rely on it, we can take on that, in the sense that now the Constitution is very clear that there's the responsibility for dam safety lies with the national government, with you, with us. I think that was the second question. The one on the financial, I probably did not understand exactly what the take home, what the questionnaire meant in terms of finances. Or is it in terms of finances required for establishing the dam safety regulations or what? Maybe Bwana Wachira there, you can help us here.
Actually, that's why I said you help us answer the first two, because I was also not able to get clearly what that final part meant. And for the interest of time, I'm sorry, I would have to add the question and answer session there. And I hope that we'll be able to get another interactive and productive session as we have had today. So from today's conversation and the knowledge shared by the experts, our Kenya's dam safety sector urgently needs a strong legal foundation through a dedicated National Dam Safety Act, supported by robust interagency collaboration and top-down government's commitment, building local capacity, as Dr. Aman has stressed, through dam engineering courses, adopting a national dam classification system. That will be very critical for us, and developing a standardized risk management framework are the next basically critical steps. TARDA, as a key dam owner and operator, is uniquely positioned to lead this agenda, piloting frameworks and internally and championing it through the policy and institutional reforms needed to secure Kenya's dams for the future. So I want to take this opportunity to just from the moderator desk thank our panelists. Without looking at the technical challenges and all that, I think this has been one informative session, and especially for those of us who are technical people, we can really grasp what our specialists and our experts are trying to communicate to us. And it's also a challenge because we have been exposed in a way that shows that there is still some room for improvement. There is still a lot that we need to do. There is a lot of streamlining we need to do so as to achieve a comprehensive dam safety management system. And from those insights and lessons that have been shared here today, we believe we will be able to, take it from there and not just learn, but also put some meaningful action into it, so that at the end of it, we'll have a proper dam safety management system. And the kind of question that we are receiving, it's actually a very strong question from Mr. Buru, how prepared we are. Next time, probably we'll have a very clear answer to give, because we'll be better prepared. And I believe that is the starting point. This dialogue is very important. And thank you all who have participated in one way or the other, and who has made this session a success. I'll just before I close, maybe I'll give Julie a chance to speak to us, and maybe some few parting shots, and then we end the session. Quickly, Julie, maybe a word or two.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for the time that you have spared. I know it was not easy to listen through about 3 hours, but we really, from the bottom of our hearts, I really, appreciative of the time that you've taken. Maybe the time, I need to explain probably about the time difference. Our friends and our colleagues over in Canada, for them, there's a bit of a lag in terms of hours, and we're ahead of them. So to be able to accommodate everybody on a local, regional and international level, we were able to now come across and come together to have this particular time. So mine is just to give a vote of thanks after that. I'd like to thank Dr. Ali Aman from Entro. I'd like to thank Tony Bennett from CDA stroke as KGS. I'd like to also thank Engineer Robinson Gaita, our now former board director. I'd like to thank also Engineer Balkesa. And of course, I'd like to also thank our MD, Mr. Liban Robber, for being able to, foresee and, facilitate this session for us as well. Of course, I would not forget to, thank our very able moderator, Francis Ashira. You've done exceptionally well. So thank you so much. So for all participants and all the facilitators of this session, honestly, we can't thank you enough. We really thank you so much. You are the meat that made this happen today. And without you, we would not have been here. Would not have had such good insight as we've had this evening. So, of course, for sure, definitely we'll plan for a longer time, a longer day, because there are very, very important questions that have come from this session. And definitely, for sure, this is a very emerging and critical conversation that we need to pay a lot more attention to. So, thank you from me. Allow me to pray very quickly so that we pray and as we close our day. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for giving us this wonderful insights for today. We thank you for giving us, Lord, this wonderful conversation, Lord. We've been able to learn from a local, from a regional, from an international perspective, Lord. Things that we might not have known, but now we are known, and we know, and we are able even to be armed to be able to come up with our own dam safety management system, to be able to now come up with what we need to do to better protect our dams. We thank you, Lord, and we bless you. In Jesus' name we do pray and believe. Amen. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day and the evening from wherever you are. Thank you.